Abyss has returned to the map pool, and if you want to be one step ahead of your opponents, we've got everything you need to know to win on Abyss, including one crucial tip for every agent class, plus 5 more tips that'll change the way you think about the map. And we're not here to put socks on caterpillars, so hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. My first tip is to start pushing mid. This is a high risk, high reward play suited to agents like Chamber and Yoru who can get out if needed, which is one of the reasons why they're 2 of the best agents on the map, because not only do you have to be worried about early peaks, you have to be careful of getting cleared by recons and drones while you're pushing. But you're welcome to do this on any agent when you have the right read. Pushing down mid can give you a lot of info. Teams are so noisy when they rotate through spawn, and you can relay that information to your team when you hear attackers rotating. That information alone can be the difference as to whether or not you win a round. Think about it. The attackers try and go A, they get stalled and they can't push past A main. So of course they're going to decide to book it to B as fast as possible. So when you hear them like a herd of elephants running through spawn, you can let your team know what's happening, and if you play the timing right, you can peek out from window and claim a couple of freebies while the attackers are trying to rush to get onto B. Bonus play if you're Yoru or Chamber, you can TP back to site to help contain the attackers while your teammates are still rotating. Initiators play a vital role on this map because of how bloody big the map is. Without a good info cycle, it can feel like you're lost in no man's land. Let's say you're playing a typical ranked game where your teammates just fast rotate safely through spawn every round, like a bunch of noobs. Something that might save you from certain defeat is re-clearing A main. It can give you all the knowledge you need to win a round. If attackers try and take A main and then cut noise, you end up in a bit of a pickle. Now your team's wondering, where should we play? Do we rotate or hold? What's going on? And they're going to run around like headless chooks if you don't get some info. When things get suspiciously quiet, you can figure out the attacker's plan by using your drone or whatever info tools you have available. And you'll either find attackers sitting in A main, twiddling their thumbs, or it'll be empty and you can sound the alarm. Rotate, rotate, rotate. And tell your bloody teammates to get their butts over to B before it's too late. Because if attackers get the cliff plant down, you're going to need as much time as possible to retake. Not only do you need to clear all of site, you need to push into B main as well. That takes forever. And you pretty much just have to hope that the attackers didn't know what they were doing and didn't plant correctly. Which brings us conveniently to our next tip. It's like I bloody planned this out, eh? Stop messing up this plant on B, please. Planting on the cliff side should be your default plant on B, but unfortunately, it's way too easy to mess it up. And too many players get this wrong, and you're losing rounds because of it. Whenever you're planting on cliff, you must plant on the very edge of the map. And when I say edge of the map, I mean edge of the map. You need to be standing right up against this ledge, but that's not enough. You can't look back towards sight while you plant. You have to stare out into the abyss, contemplating every life decision you've ever made for the next 4 seconds. But then when the spike's down, you can just move on with your life. And you can rest assured that you know you planned it in a way that's going to give your team the best chance to win the round. Because by making sure the spike's planted on the very edge of the map, it means that you can see the diffuser from all the way down past danger. If you plant anywhere towards the middle of this lane, or God forbid against Gen, it means that you have to push back into sight all the way up past ramp to try and stop the diffuser, and that is just a death sentence. The cliff plant is safe and effective, and the only position on site that you need to really worry about that can stop you is troll. Get it? Because it's under the bridge. And that's something you want to think about in agent select. Tip number 4 is making sure that you have a way of clearing out troll. Outside of the regular tools that you ideally want in any comp, like a flash, recon, dive, smokes, and flank watch, if you also bring some ground denial or damaging utility to clear out troll, it's going to make your life 100 times easier when you go B. The reason it's so important is troll is the only true covered on-site position to play in for defenders on B site. So if you can clear out troll, then the knock-on effect is that defenders are effectively forced into a retake position, because the next closest spot to play is in Tetris/elbow, and that's arguably off-site. And like we said before, retaking B can be rather difficult if you're not careful. There's no covered positions to advance to. It's all just sending it out in the open. And like we mentioned before, retaking B site isn't as simple as just retaking site. You have to push and clear out B main to deny any of that post-plant spam from down past danger. But this is where you can have a lot of impact as a controller player. Smoking is quite complicated on Abyss B site. On A site, defensively, it's just smoke off A main and we're chilling, right? For B site, we've got two different lanes to worry about. It's big and open. What are we meant to do? Should you smoke both? That's pretty costly. Sometimes it can be the right play for sure. But early in the rounds when you're just defending B site, it can be really costly and you're going to lose a lot of stall time.
Not ready yet.
Instead, I want you to utilize turtle smokes. This smoke in particular allows you to create crossfires in back sight. It also gives cover to you or any teammates playing in troll if they do get utiled out. And you can make plays around the Tetris boxes by peeking over the smoke as well. But you can also play inside the smoke, which prevents attackers from being able to jump up to top gen. And you can flash or recon through the smoke for aggressive plays into front sight. But there's even a cooler turtle smoke that you can do on the top of front gen. Not only can you begin by playing on top gen and then play inside the smoke, allowing you to play inside the chaos, ducking and weaving in and out to shoot the tops of unsuspecting attackers' heads. It also creates a one-way for anyone pushing through front gen or up from danger. And if they try and duck for cover at front gen, you'll be able to see their legs from the top of the Tetris boxes. And that's a free kill. The amount of impact that you can have as a controller on Abyss is astounding, including adjusting your smokes to enable your duelist to take one of the strongest positions on the map. Let's talk about taking A Heaven. A Heaven is an absolute power position on Abyss. If you lose it as defenders, it's pretty much wraps for the round. If you're one of the duelists that has the ability to dive into A Heaven, make it a habit to ask your controller to smoke deeper and get a flash or a stun into there so you can dive in and take it. Now you can play in this pocket of space where defenders have to come through this tight choke point to take it back from you. You can even open up the vent door to help you hold it. Now, as a defender, if you're playing in Heaven, don't be hasty to jump out of the smoke and fight on site to support your team. Like, you can let your teammates die if they're in bad positions. You jumping out to try and help them isn't going to stop them from dying from being in a bad position. And by holding A Heaven control and containing the attackers on site, it'll make your retake so much easier. If you try and jump out of Heaven, you'll just be dead before you hit the floor. Sova and Cypher are some of the best agents to play in A Heaven because they can use the attacker's smoke to their advantage and don't need to push onto site to have impact. Just play to recon the front of site when attackers enter, or play off of your trips if you're Cypher. You can also put your cam on the front of A site to get a full view of the attackers and where they're standing on site. And be patient. Don't open it too early. If you wait until someone tries to plant, that's an easy spam kill. So what do we do as attackers if we're just getting demolished from A Heaven? No matter how many times you try and go up the A Heaven rope through a smoke, you're gonna lose your head every time. So what other options do we have? It's time to go through the back door. One way to create extra pressure into A Heaven is by taking vents. This will have the bonus effect of making it easier to push through A main as well, because defenders now have to split their focus, because vents control gives you immediate A pressure, threatening to take that oh so important Heaven control and practically impossible for defenders to take it back from you. If you're there as a pack, you can always pivot to B very quickly down through Aquarium, and if you're there as a lurker, then you can win the game by coming late into Heaven and denying the defuse. Be a patient little gremlin when you're ratting in vents, because attackers can't really force you out of vents. If they try and push back through Heaven, it's a tiny little corridor, which is a fight that's massively in your advantage. So if they want to do that, just let them. Then you don't have to take the risky fight of trying to push out into Heaven. And it's not really viable to try and reverse flush you out from mid, because they either have to walk all the way around to bottom mid and then back up to rafters, or they have to take the rope. In that case, you'll hear them, unless they know the silent rope tech. That's right, you can get onto this rope and up into rafters silently. While it's not useful every round, it does open up some doors for you if you know how to do it. And used at the right times, can catch your opponents completely off guard. And it's very simple to do. All you have to do is walk up to the ledge. Then right as you're about to step off, start running. But not for more than 2 steps, so you don't make an audible footstep. Then right as you get close enough to grab the rope, quickly press S to cut that forward momentum and cling to that rope for your goddamn life. You might go sliding down past the rope and think you're gonna fall into the abyss for all eternity, but you will bounce back up. Now that you're clinging to the rope, you can sit there contemplating all of your mistakes and all of your regrets. I mean, you can sit there waiting sneakily with a Bucky for the perfect killing range for the other side of mid, or you can push up catwalk. This can be very useful in the clutch, where moving around silently and into unexpected positions can be vital to winning. And lastly, Sentinels. It's pretty tricky to hold flank on Abyss, isn't it? If your team's going A, Cypher and Vice can trip for the defense, but if you're trying to lurk up mid at the same time, you're going to be exposed to B window flanks. Defenders can be aware of this common position, so they can camp your trip in spawn and create crossfires players waiting for you to rotate. And don't get me started on B. You can't trip both spawn flank and window. You can only try and cover everything by setting up in the post round. Severely limits the timing of your lurks. What I recommend is playing for mid lurk control when your team goes B, but trip for A. That way you're using the trip for yourself and you're containing the flank for your team. And the beautiful thing about lurking through mid on Abyss is that it's very easy to rejoin over to B just through the window. And then you can be there for that post plant spam. Abyss is a map that the community is definitely still learning, so these tips should put you above the rest of your teammates. Which tip did you find most helpful? Let us know. And make sure you subscribe for the latest tips from Radiant players and pro coaches like myself. And good luck out there dominating on Abyss.